Broadway Street runs from the airport all the way to downtown. It passes by a lot of San Antonio in its 8.5 miles. It passes in front of the Whitty and the Museum. It passes by Maverick, Menke, and Breckenridge Parks. It passes by a luxury high-rise condo and an abandoned, rundown motel. Now, just south of that motel sits a small children's amusement park. From the street, you can see the spinning Ferris wheel and hear the sounds of children at play. This is the Kiddie Park. Driving by, it looks like an artifact of a bygone era. The rides aren't themed with Disney characters or DC superheroes. All the attractions are simple and feel homemade. In an era of on-demand TV and video games, it's hard to imagine a kid would ever want to go there. At least that's what I thought before I had kids. After I became a parent, I realized I was totally wrong about the Kiddie Park.
The Kiddie Park has a Ferris wheel, a small one, and a bus that's wild, and a boat ride, and there's a merry-go-round, there's cars, there's horse-drawn carriages, and yes, there's airplanes that swing around.
According to my 5-year-old daughter, there are lots of things to do at the Kiddie Park. Whenever we drive by it, she would always beg me to go there. So what do you say we do that? Let's visit the Kiddie Park and tell a story of what happens there in this chapter of the San Antonio Storybook, a podcast about the people and places of the Alamo City. I'm Brantley Hightower. The Kiddie Park is nestled under a grove of shady oak trees. It's small, less than an acre, and everything inside it is scaled down to the size of a kid. Everything is also painted bright, primary colors. Depending on when you visit, there may be carnival games and face painting, but the rides are really what the Kiddie Park is all about. In every one of them, you spin around in a circle. There's the wild bus ride my daughter mentioned. It drives around on a circular track. There are little flying saucers that spin around in the air and little cars that drive around on the ground. The Ferris wheel spins around in a vertical circle, and there's the Carousel where horses spin around in a horizontal circle. And then there are the boats.
My favorite ride's the boats, because you get to go in water, and there's a steering wheel, and you get to go in water.
For the record, the steering wheel my daughter mentioned serves no functional purpose. It doesn't actually steer the boat, but that doesn't seem to matter much, nor does the color of the water that fills the circular tank the boats float in.
The water is green sometimes, and sometimes it's blue.
I first took my daughter to the Kiddie Park when she was 2 years old. The moment I walked through the gates, it was like I had traveled back in time. It certainly felt like I was entering a magical place, and it turns out the people who work there feel the exact same way.
If you look around, you see how magical this place is.
Frank Ramos has been working at the Kiddie Park for almost 10 years.
I started September 2009, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. Yeah, families, generations of families have been coming here, and they truly enjoy this place. You see them come in, they're having a good time. It's in a magical place, it really is. It's an enjoyable place.
Frank grew up in San Antonio. When he was a kid, he'd visit the Kiddie Park with his family. Now he operates rides there. He can operate all of them, but there's one ride he enjoys more than all the rest.
My favorite is the bus. Because when you see a bunch of kids going in there as strangers, they come out as friends. And then they hang around each other for a little while. And it's amazing. It really is an amazing place. Yeah. People come in as strangers, they leave as friends.
The Kiddie Park has been around since 1925. It bills itself as America's oldest children's amusement park. It says that it's the perfect way for children and adults to enjoy a nostalgic day of old-fashioned fun. But here's the thing. Kids don't feel nostalgia. One of the many ways kids are different from adults is that they live almost exclusively in the present. Children don't long for the distant past because they don't have a distant past to remember. They also don't know much about history, so the concept of visiting a retro amusement park doesn't really mean anything to them. All they know is that the Kiddie Park is full of fun things to do. On a typical visit, my daughter and I would make our way from one ride to the next. We'd spend a few dollars in the arcade and maybe buy lemonade if it was especially hot.
Ooh, look at this one. I thought you might like that one.
We'd save the Carousel for last. The 1918 Herschel Spillman Carousel is the Kiddie Park's crown jewel. It sits in the center of the park and is in perfect working condition, even if it looks like a merry-go-round that is in fact 100 years old. I love that you can see all of its moving parts, the cranks that move each horse up and down. Some of the parts are greasy and others are tarnished. Some of the horses are missing their tails, but the carousel continues to spin. It continues to provide joy to thousands of San Antonio children. When I watched my 5-year-old daughter as she went round and around on the carousel, I also remembered seeing her as a 2-year-old when she rode it for the first time. She had curly hair back then, and I could tell by her expressive little face that she was having the time of her life. But that toddler is gone. She was replaced by a precocious kindergartner who's excited by addition and syllables and all the things she's learning at school. And here's the twist. That 5-year-old, she's gone too. I bet you want to know what happened to her. I'll tell you, but first you need to listen to this message from our sponsor.
Janet didn't know if she'd get her liver transplant in time, or that her friend's daughter Sonia would step up to be her donor. Because she didn't know it was possible for a person to donate part of their liver to save a life. Or that University Health System's Transplant Center was the only place that does this in South Texas. Now she knows University Hospital was the right place to save her life. See Janet's story at thinkingbeyond.net.
First of all, don't worry, my daughter's totally fine. She didn't need a liver transplant, although we now know where to go if she did. No, my 5-year-old daughter did what every 5-year-old does. She grew up. You see, I played a little radio trick on you. That tape you heard earlier of my daughter talking about the Kiddie Park, that was recorded 4 years ago.
How old are you?
9.
What do you remember about the Kiddie Park?
5.
The 9-year-old version of my daughter is more suspicious now when her dad shows up with a microphone and starts asking questions.
Do you have any desire to go back?
Not necessarily.
Just to be clear, I'm completely in love with the version of my daughter that exists today. I love how she sailed through the Harry Potter books, and I'm proud of the fact she memorized her multiplication tables. It's not that I'm sad my daughter doesn't want to go to the Kiddie Park anymore. I'm not sad she keeps growing up. There are lots of things we can do together now that we couldn't do when she was 5. It's not really sadness I'm feeling at all, but a sentimental longing for the past. There's a word for that feeling, of course. It's called nostalgia. Now, I don't feel nostalgia for the Kiddie Park. I feel nostalgia for the memories I made there with my daughter. I felt this feeling before, of course. I felt it 4 years ago when I watched my daughter riding the carousel. Back then, I could remember the younger version of my daughter, but I could squint and imagine her in the future as well. I could anticipate a time when she wouldn't want to go to the Kiddie Park anymore. I could imagine her moving on to other things that would include me and her mom less and less. Your mind has time to wander when you take your kids to the Kiddie Park. Being a parent is about joy, yes, but it's also about loss. There's plenty that's gained as your children grow up, but there are things that are lost along the way. Part of you knows this is the way things should be, but part of you wants your child to always be able to enjoy the simple pleasure of riding a horse, a plane, or a boat around in a circle. Things can't last forever, but you can appreciate them while they still do. And you can always hope there's time for one more ride.
Was that fun? Do you want to go again?
Yes.
Thanks today to Frank Ramos, Tony Banderas, Michael Fuentes, and all the people who have made the Kiddie Park a special place in San Antonio. A few months ago, it was announced that the Kiddie Park would be relocating to the San Antonio Zoo. This month will be your last chance to experience the rides of the Kiddie Park in their original Broadway location. Christine Finnessy helped with the script, and the music was by Blue Dot Sessions. San Antonio Storybook is a production of the Rivard Report. You can find more information about this podcast and enjoy all the nonprofit journalism the Report has to offer at therivardreport.com. Until next time, I'm Brantley Hightower. Is this microphone making you nervous?
Yes.
Is the microphone frightening to you?
No.
Are you afraid the microphone's going to bite you?
No.
It's not, I assure you. Would you rather me go away so you can go read your book?
Yes. Well, no. I don't know.
I love you, Sammy.
I love you too. Good night.
Good night. Can I tickle you?
No.
Oh, just a little.
Stop it.